there are things written in the right history book, and if you read the right history book, you will find out what happened, over the years as history has been made. It started being made one day at a time, and it hasn't changed. History is being made today. Matter of fact, as I make this video, history is being made. Yeah, I'm making history. Wherever you are making history also. And today will have been and become history. God is serious about some things. If angels sinned and God did things to them or with them, an angel sinned and God did put them in a place. And it's obvious in this history book that there was an ancient world. And we call it an ancient world because the ancient world never saw it rain until it rained so much that the world was gone. The only thing that was left was floating in a boat that Noah had built. There were 8 people in the boat and a lot of animals. But God was in heaven and God was watching. And when God made it quit raining, it quit raining. And when God wanted the water to dry up, the water dried up. And when the water dried up and the boat was on the ground, Noah made a sacrifice. And something must have smelled good to God. And the next thing you can find out is God was making a covenant with Noah and some animals. God was making a promise, in other words. Well, let me tell you what, folks. When God makes a promise, it is a promise. And when God promises you or me, if you will, I will, that's exactly how it works. Because there is an if you don't, I will that comes after it. And if people do not find out and seek the kingdom, they won't ever find it. And we were told what to seek first. And if we found it, we'd know when we found it. I found it. It found me. Anyway, it happened. What happened? My eyes got open. And after my eyes got opened, I began to learn some things. And I'm sure if I wake up tomorrow and open my eyes, I will learn some things. I might even learn some things when I sleep tonight. God can teach you when you awake or when you are asleep. And if you hadn't learned how to spend time, like you should, you might find out one day you've been wasting time like you shouldn't have. Why am I wanting to be so serious, friends? If God destroyed the world and only allowed 8 people to live because people were sinning, what do you think people are doing today? They're believing the devil's lies. They're saying God doesn't care how much you sin. Sin is not a problem anymore. Sin was a problem, and sin will be a problem until you put away sin. And when you put away sin, then you will be not having the problem that you have. Well, how do I put away sin? I suggest you find out. How do I not sin? How about just refuse to do it? Oh, but it's so much. Yeah, it is so much. It is so much. There were a lot of sinners in Sodom, and Lot was living there. Abraham and his wife was up on the higher ground. They got visited one day, And the next day, there was some smoke in the valley. And Lot's wife turned to salt. And a lot of stuff has happened since then. But there was a man born in Bethlehem of Judea, and angels appeared to some folks. There was a bright star in the sky. There was one being born in Bethlehem that day that would really be something. He was the prophet that God had said would be coming. He was only a baby, and his mom and daddy had to take him to Egypt. But his mom and daddy were at least smart enough to do what the angels told them to do, or asked them to do. And when they came back from Egypt, they moved to Nazareth. And they lived in Nazareth. And the baby was a Nazarene. He was Jesus of Nazareth. Oh yeah, boy, that boy did have some times. And then he got about 30 years old, and then he really had some times. Because times changed when he met his friend John. I'm sure they're bound to have been friends. If they weren't, they got to be friends that day because John saw him coming. And Jesus knew who John was. And they got down in that river. And boy, did things start to change after they came up out the river. Yeah, Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness, and then he came out. And then he spent about 3 years doing some talking. And it came time for him to die. And before they killed him, he said, Father, if there's any other way, let this thing go it. But his father said, Son, the only way that I can get done what I want done is for you to obey me. Some of you people, or some of us, all of us, we're all in the same boat here. We're on earth, we're breathing air. And if we're not doing God's will, we might be doing the devil's. And if you are doing the devil's will, then you will find out, as there were 7 churches got a message from a man in prison. The message wasn't that great, folks. Matter of fact, there was a lot of repentance called for. I don't know who repented then. I don't know who will repent today. All I can tell you is I am going to preach the gospel of the kingdom. And the gospel of the kingdom is not take me to heaven. The gospel is, and the prayer was, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it has been done in heaven. Well, you say I didn't say it right. Well, what you want to do about it? I'm not going to try to do anything about it because God is working these things. It's out of my hands, friends. They asked Jesus, are you restoring the kingdom to Israel at this time? Jesus said, my Father's fixed all this. It won't be restored till my Father's ready for it to be restored. And when it gets restored, it will be restored. Until then, there was a message to be preached. And the message began with, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Must I say it again? Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. You better do what Jesus told you to do. Because until you do, you didn't do what Jesus said you needed to do. And if you can't find somebody to help you, then you're not looking in the right place. Because God has got help here, and people better be taking advantage of the help when God offers it. Oh yeah, the end of some things is coming fast. And when your days are over, your days are over. And this has taken 10 minutes, and that's that. Have a nice day.